Christina, the Sports Report girl, here with your college football week in review. Well, it looks like the football gods aren't feeling much love for the top 25 this week, specifically the top 10, as 4 of them lost over the weekend. In case you've been living under a rock, the ugliness began Thursday night in Corvallis, where a struggling Oregon State team played host to number 1 USC. And usually when a Trojan meets an eager Beaver, good times will follow. But that wasn't the case Thursday night when the Beavers tore through the Trojans 27-21. In the trenches, the Trojans usually make like latex bending but really breaking. Then again, accidents do happen. Just ask Sarah Palin's pregnant daughter. Sorry. The huge play of the game came in the last few seconds of the first half when SC's Kevin Thomas had a sure interception in the end zone. Instead, he bobbled the ball, and miraculously, it ended up in the hands of Oregon State's James Rogers for a touchdown. When looking back, it seems to be the difference in the game. Well, that and the fact that Mike Riley drank Pete Carroll's milkshake for the second straight trip to Corvallis. And it would have been 3 straight had the Leinart Bush team not pulled out a double overtime win in 2004. Next in line was number 3 Georgia, who played host Saturday night to conference rival Alabama. Earlier in the week, Mark Richt announced his squad would be wearing their black jerseys. It was an obvious attempt to fire up his players and fans who felt jilted for slipping in the polls despite winning each week. And though they've had some close games, it seemed like Georgia's offense was simmering and ready to explode, right? Well, not so fast, my friend. Unfortunately for Georgia, Nick Saban's team came to play. The Tide rolled the Dogs 41-30, drowning any BCS title hopes UGA may have had. In fact, it wasn't even as close as the score implies, as several of Georgia's touchdowns came in the last minutes when the outcome was already certain. Staying in the SEC, Ole Miss traveled to Gainesville this week to face number 4 Florida. It was expected to be just another speed bump along the way for the Gators. Unfortunately for Florida, that speed bump turned into a major roadblock as the Rebels swamped the Gators 31-30. Despite trailing late, most of us had the feeling Florida would pull it out in the end. After all, Mr. Heisman had the ball with under a minute left and was driving deep into Ole Miss territory. Urban had the chance to kick a 49-yard field goal for the win, but seeing as how their previous extra point was blocked, he opted instead to go for it on 4th and 1. Unfortunately, no one blocked for Tebow, and he was tackled without ever getting back to the line of scrimmage. So, in only his 4th game as coach of Ole Miss, Houston found a way to crack the Gators' nut. Over in the Big Ten, we had another scenario that looked like a no-brainer. 9th-ranked Wisconsin was on the road against a struggling Michigan team. On paper, the Badgers appeared to be a sure winner. But since 1994, Wisconsin has been 0-4 at the Big House. When asked about the likelihood of that streak ending, new Michigan coach Rich Rodriguez responded by saying, "Badgers? We don't need no stinking Badgers." Seeing as how Michigan held on to win 27-25, it would appear Senor Rodriguez was correct. The 19-point come-from-behind victory was the largest in the history of the Big House. Wisconsin, who was tested early by a tough Fresno State team, seemed to have the inside track to the Big Ten title. But now it looks like Penn State is the team to beat. There were a number of other upsets worth mentioning, like the Midshipmen beating the Demon Deacons, and the Terrapins snapping the Tigers, and let's not forget how the Cougars made the Pirates walk the plank. But this much upheaval at the top of the polls hasn't happened since last season. And to think we're only a month in. Okay guys, that is it for this week, but be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There you will find other cool videos like the Backspin, the Pro Football Week in Review, and the Fantasy Lineup. When you do subscribe, be sure to post your questions and comments or send them to srg@thesportsreportgirl.com. And of course, there's always our fan page on Facebook. See you back here next week for another edition of the College Football Week in Review.